Well, and our top focus on this edition of The Big Story is the flood-hit states. Now, after a week of incessant rains and floods across the country, the situation in Karnataka, Maharashtra, Kerala and Gujarat has slightly eased, with water levels receding in some parts. Over 150 people, however, have lost their lives in rain-related incidents across the country already. As water recedes from various regions, massive relief operations are underway in all the states. So the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, NDRF, police force are all involved in the rescue operations in various places. Let's in fact first turn our focus to the state of Kerala, where after days of heavy rains in Kerala, the IMD has now issued an orange alert in 6 districts and water continues to recede across the state. But the death toll from various rain-related incidents stands at 76. At least 2.5 lakh people have been shifted to more than 1,600 relief camps across the state. The rains have also caused damage to the famous Bekal Fort in Kasaragod. The wall of the observatory tower on the fort's west side was destroyed on Sunday. After the damage, the Archaeological Survey of India has restricted visitors from climbing the tower to avoid any form of accident. In fact, let's go across to my colleague Pramod, who's joining us at this point. Pramod has been traveling across the state to the various flood-affected regions, getting us the ground update. Pramod, where are you at this point, and what's the latest that you can tell us? We, of course, know at this point, like we heard in the afternoon that the forecast for Kerala is going to ease up now. The worst is over.
Well, definitely the forecast seems to have eased up, but still the water that has been pouring for the past 4 days, it's still over there. It's stagnated all across the place, and that's causing a lot of trouble as well. Many people have to return to their homes, especially in the northern districts of Malappuram, Wayanad and Kozhikode. But unfortunately, the water level has receded, but not to a maximum level. Only then the relief and rehabilitation will start. But however, in the districts of Wayanad and Malappuram, tragedy has struck in a much bigger range, because in Wayanad, especially a landslide has led to the death of 18 people. 10 bodies have been recovered so far, 8 yet to be recovered. But the landslide at Kavalapara in near Malappuram district is much vast, because 53 people have been reportedly missing, of which 14 bodies have been recovered so far. So that is the magnitude of tragedy these rains have caused for the northern part of Kerala so far. That's a kind of a really tragic situation. But however, on the other areas like Kannur and other little over districts, the water has receded very well. And in Nilambur also, almost 10 feet of water has receded, and people have gone once again to clear the shops and whatever was under the water. It's full of mud everywhere. They are clearing it and they want to go back to their normal life. People are doing each other, helping everyone. But at the same time, this will take at least a minimum of 2 months for them to attain normalcy.
Right. And Pramod, the question, like you pointed out, that although the rains have eased up at this point, water levels have started receding, but there are several areas where there is still waterlogging. And more importantly, people have lost a lot of, their entire houses, all their belongings. People have really faced a difficult time. If you can help us understand how many people are in relief camps, so what is the kind of relief that is being provided to them?
Well, it seems like a very specific plan has been sorted out for creating relief camps, because within an hour's period, people start emergency relief camps were immediately started in various locations, and especially after the Wayanad, about the information about the landslide at Wayanad, immediately camps were created all across that area in that district alone, to make sure people, especially in such hilly regions, will be moved to that. So that's the reason for now we have close to 2.2 lakh people in relief camps, and more than 2,200 relief camps have been created immediately. And these relief camps are getting contributions from the local community itself. What they do is that wherever they have communication through WhatsApp, immediately they send a message saying they need this much clothes, this much food, and this much sanitary items, and immediately they get it. And even the shop owners who have stocked it for selling, they immediately give it to them also. So that way people are coming together and they are helping it. Close to 2.2 lakh people are staying in relief camps. When it comes to this Kannur and Kozhikode, the problem is that, like you see, there is water completely over everywhere. So that's the reason they have to go to higher grounds. But when it comes to Malappuram and Wayanad, the issue is actually landslide. Really scary, because imagine one landslide at this Kavalapara was able to actually submerge a small village. Close to 20 houses are under that place alone, and that's the reason a huge panic got created. But however, people were removed from the place and are kept in specific zones right now. It seems like Kerala government must have to once again go ahead and audit the locations to find out what are landslide prone areas, to make sure, because as you might know, in Wayanad and in Malappuram districts, most people live in such areas only, which means they are definitely under a great threat.
Yes, absolutely, Pramod. In fact, like you pointed out, one of the worst things this time has been the number of landslides and the number of people who've lost their lives because of those landslides. Pramod, thank you so much for joining us with those details and that latest update. So like we were telling you, landslides has been a key problem this time round in the state of Kerala. Lok Sabha MP from Wayanad, Rahul Gandhi, visited Puttumala, where a landslide has claimed 10 lives so far. Here's a ground report from Puttumala.
Just arrived here to oversee the situation. No problem. So would you like to comment what the kind of devastation is massive? Sir, please. The kind of devastation? Okay, will you speak later, sir? But have you any special instructions to the district administration?
Excuse me, please.
Well, he just mentioned that he's not going to speak about it now. Probably could, address the media a little later. But if I could in fact show you, he did of course oversee most of the work that's going on. That's the landslide there. A huge one which has already claimed 10 lives, over about 7 according to the district officials still trapped inside. Now even we spoke to KC Venugopal a little while earlier, going on to say that special instructions have been put out to the district administration to do everything that they can to identify, locate and pull out the bodies, if any, and even probably anybody who's still stuck alive inside.
And I've now been here for 2 days, so we've toured the area, spoken to people at the camps. We discussed the condition in the camps, some issues that arose, particularly compensation of people going forward, people who've lost their houses, people who have been killed, family members who have been killed. So we discussed compensation. Bhaiya, thoda shant ho jaye. We discussed compensation. We've been committed that everybody who's lost a house, people who've lost family members, will get compensation as soon as possible. There is an issue where the landslides took place. There they are trying to find some people who are missing. So we've told them to expedite that and make it happen as fast as possible. There are some constraints because the area is quite large, so they are dealing with that. I think it's a tragedy not only for Wayanad but for Kerala and also some of the other southern states. I think the central government needs to pay attention and aggressively support the people of these states. I mean, I spoke to the Prime Minister and I mentioned to him some of the details that I knew about Kerala and Wayanad. And I told him to make sure that central government gives full support.
All right, let's in fact shift focus now. 40 people have been killed in the flood-affected state of Karnataka. At least 5.8 lakh, that's almost 6 lakh people, have been evacuated to safety. Union Home Minister Amit Shah and Chief Minister B.S. Yedurappa undertook an aerial survey of the flood-affected areas on Sunday. The NDRF and the SCRF teams, along with naval personnel, are carrying out rescue operations and providing food packets to stranded residents. 14 people have been reported missing so far. Schools and colleges will remain closed until the 15th of August. Let's in fact go across to my colleague Neha Hebale, who's joining us at this point in time. Neha has been traveling across the state of Karnataka to the flood-hit districts, getting us the latest on-ground report and the impact of these floods. Neha, where are you at this point, and what's the latest that you can tell us as far as the rescue operations are concerned?
Well, Avni, we're in the Shivmoga district in Karnataka right now, where, of course, 3 deaths have been reported already. And of the 3 deaths, one of the deaths was that of a boy that was ideally pushed off a bridge after a bolero came and rammed into him, and another 3 people along with him as well. In fact, so right now we are on the NDRF boat. If I can actually ask my video journalist Pradeep to pan and show you around. We're on this boat right now that is currently searching for the 2 bodies of the people that were actually thrown off the bridge soon after a car actually came and rammed into them. And, now the fact still remains that at the time when their bodies were, of course, thrown into the water current was pretty high. So they are, of course, panning across a rescue, of course, at this point of time, search operations have been underway. This incident took place on Saturday, but the body of course, the two of them have not yet been retrieved. And of the four of them, while one, of course, was rescued immediately after the incident happened, the other one actually died, is what we're given to understand. His body was retrieved yesterday, but at this point, we are, of course, searching for the body. Let's also, of course, get in a word here from the personnel who themselves have been working hard day in and day out, trying to, search for the body. It has been about a good 48 hours now. Let's talk to them and find out the kind of challenges and what could have possibly happened. सर, अभी आप बताइए, मतलब आप अभी कितने दिन से ये दोनों जो बॉडी है, आप कितने दिन से ढूंढ रहे हैं और अभी आपको क्या लग रहा है, अभी कितना टाइम और लग सकता है?
अभी हम परसों यहाँ पर पहुँच गए थे, हमारी रेस्क्यू टीम, और हम लोग कल सुबह से मतलब सर्च एंड रेस्क्यू जारी है और हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि अभी जल स्तर थोड़ा नीचे हो गया और हम लोग जल्द से जल्द इस बॉडी को ढूंढने में मतलब कार्य कर रहे हैं।
अच्छा सर, अभी ये जो जगह है जहाँ पे आप ढूंढ रहे हैं, यहाँ पे काफ़ी बड़ा जगह है, मतलब ऐसे ये जो है कि ये जो नदी है उसमें मतलब गिरा था, तो ये कहीं भी हो सकता है, तो ये काफ़ी बड़ा जगह है ढूंढने के लिए।
सर, हम लोग कितनी भी बड़ी जगह हो, हम चारों तरफ से छोटी छोटी सब टीम बना के हम नदी के दोनों किनारों को भी सर्च कर रहे हैं। उसके बाद जहाँ भी पानी गया हुआ है, जैसे जल स्तर ऊपर था, जो प्लेन एरिया में भी घुसा है, तो वहाँ पर भी हम छोटी छोटी टीमें बना के सर्चिंग कर रहे हैं।
अच्छा सर, यहाँ के लोकल्स और जो विलेजर्स हैं वो लोग भी आपके साथ मतलब ढूंढ रहे थे सुबह, वो लोग भी मतलब लोकल पुलिस हो उनके साथ भी वो लोग भी ढूंढ रहे थे, तो वो लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं, मतलब कहीं पे उनको कुछ लग रहा है कि यहाँ पे हो सकता है, यहाँ पे हो सकता है, वो लोग भी मतलब साइड बाय साइड ढूंढ रहे हैं, क्या बोल रहे हैं वो लोग आपको?
उनकी भी हमें सहायता मिल रही है। यहाँ की सिविल पब्लिक से और पुलिस भी है और फायर ब्रिगेड की जो रेस्क्यू टीम है वो भी हमारे साथ काम कर रही है और सिविल से हमें पता लग रहा है, वो लोग बता भी रहे हैं कि यहाँ पर गिरे थे, यहाँ से हो सकता है इधर जाएंगे, जहाँ जहाँ वो बोल रहे हैं वहाँ पर हम सर्च एंड रेस्क्यू कर रहे हैं।
ठीक है, थैंक यू सर. Well, there you have it. Of course, at this point of time, they're picking up all cues that they're receiving from the locals, from the villagers, from eyewitnesses also, if any. But what's rather mysterious over here is that there were, of course, a lot of people standing on the bridge at the time when the bolero came and rammed into these four people. But none of them really seemed to have, sort of witnessed this. When, of course, even the local police went around and asked, they've picked up all the cues, all the hints that they've really got at this point of time. And thankfully, now that the water levels have receded, the bodies should ideally come up on the surface, is what we are given to understand.
Right, absolutely, Neha. Of course, hats off to all the entire teams who have been searching and providing relief and rescue operations. But Neha, like you pointed out, there are still several areas which are waterlogged, where the water levels have not receded, although we do know that the forecast for the next few days is that everything will ease up, rains will ease up. But at the same time, the water levels haven't receded yet in several of the areas. How much is that hampering the search operations? How much is that hampering the relief operations as well? The search operations, how much is that hampering the relief operations as well?
Well, Avni, to a large extent, of course, it is safe to say that in the city areas and the districts that we visited, be it Belagavi, be it Shivmoga, the city areas seem to be relatively okay. But the main pain points are, of course, the outskirts where water is logged to a height of as much as about 5 to 8 feet, also still, not receding in some of the areas. In those areas, in fact, even when we did an aerial survey also along with, the teams of the Indian Navy, what we noticed in a lot of places was that people are not really willing, that they've not made up their minds yet to abandon their homes that they've stayed in for all of these years, their ancestral property, and ideally be rescued. So that is a major portion of, that's a major pain point in terms of the rescue and relief operations being carried out. It's only once they make up their minds that they're willing to be rescued and taken to safer havens that, it would, of course, ease the operations of the forces. But having said that, currently, of course, there are as many as more than 300 relief camps that have been set up across the state. And more importantly, as many as, of course, a couple of lakh people have already also been rescued at this point of time. Search and rescue operations are also underway. Evacuations are currently underway. And in worst hit districts like that of Belagavi and Kodagu as well, you have, even, of course, choppers that are being sent in to airlift people out of their terraces. So the situation still remains to be grim. But as per the weather forecast, going by all of that, it is safe to say that we are, of course, headed towards better days coming in now.
All right, Neha, thanks for getting us those details. That's the latest as far as Karnataka is concerned, and especially in Shivmoga district at this point in time. But we've got Mr. Sharma from SkyMet who's joining us on the phone line. Mr. Sharma, of course, we know at this point that the rains, it's very evident the rains have in fact eased up. The water levels have begun receding, although there are still several areas in all the three states or 3-4 states which have been badly hit where the water levels are yet to recede. But going forward, what is the forecast for Maharashtra, for Kerala, for Karnataka? Is the worst over?
Yes, I will say that yes, worst is over. All the three pockets of the states which were affected largely by floods, be it Maharashtra, Karnataka and Kerala, the worst is over, and the weather is not going to play further spoil sport even in the relief operations also. Though all these pockets, you see, it's never a total quiet in these areas. Like, for example, even parts of Kerala, some light rains you can expect. They will continue. But then they are not going to hamper the relief operations as such. Possibly Karnataka will be better than Kerala and Maharashtra will be better than even Karnataka also in the coming days also. Especially after about, you take another 36 hours or so, conditions are improving in much better than whatever even they are today also. Possibly we see some sunshine also after about a day or two. And then thereafter, for the next about 5-7 days or so, I expect good weather conditions. Very, very conducive to carry out any sort of operations, whether it's ground operations, whether it's air operations, they will not hamper. And I think we can carry out to a large extent whatever the relief rehabilitation operations are there. And during the meantime, in any case, whatever the water logging is there, that also I expect it to recede also. Yes, that's it.
Yes, Mr. Sharma. In fact, as far as at least Bombay is concerned, it's been a while since we've seen the sun really come out substantially. But my question to you is, going forward over the next week or 10 days, like you've been talking about, is there any chance of another spell of intense rainfall, another spell that could possibly come in?
Not for this region, which have already been flooded. Okay, but yes, the focus possibly will shift to the other side, particularly the central parts. There is a monsoon low pressure area which is moving across. We are having some good rains, heavy rains also. Parts of Orissa will have tomorrow onwards. Tomorrow, day after, we will again have even some parts of Maharashtra, but that is over mostly Vidarbha and adjoining area, which is like Nagpur and Akola. This is the pocket, northern parts of even Vidarbha. And then Madhya Pradesh, they will have heavy rains. Okay, right. The chance of some good water, logging as such, and water logging, inundation, could be some localized floods also, but that pocket will have. Not over these parts of Karnataka, Maharashtra and Kerala, which already have had. But then, yes, central parts of the country, next about 3 days, we got to watch out for some fresh areas of having inundation and water logging. That's it.
All right, Mr. Sharma. So essentially what you're saying is that the focus will now shift from the western sides of India towards the central parts of India, where we could see heavy rainfall and we could see certain areas get inundated as well. Thank you, Mr. Sharma, for joining us with your for the forecast as far as all of these areas are concerned. But shifting focus to the state of Maharashtra now. Water levels have begun to recede. Agencies are now focusing on post-flood relief work on the ground. 1.5 lakh power connections in Kolhapur have been restored, while the remaining 1 lakh odd connections will be restored over the next 2 days. Rescue work in Sangli city has almost come to an end. 40 people have unfortunately lost their lives in Maharashtra, and around 5 lakh people have been shifted to relief camps. Disha is joining us on the phone line. Disha has been across several of these heavily hit areas which have been flooded. Disha, where are you at this point, and what's the latest that you can tell us? We know, of course, how badly certain areas have been flooded, how deep the water levels have been and submerged entire villages and entire areas. But have the water levels now started receding?
Well, the situation is much better now. If we talk about the Sangli city particularly, and also the villages surrounding Sangli and Kolhapur district, what we saw last week and what we just show it to our viewers, the entire Sangli city which was flooded, submerged. Now the water level has receded and rescue work is also complete. They have rescued more than about 10,500 people from the Sangli city alone, and they have been moved to the nearest relief camps, is what we know. So overall, for the fact that rescue work is almost complete as far as in Sangli and Kolhapur is concerned. The data which is coming in by the officials says that there are about 61 villages that have been badly affected due to the floods in both the districts concerned. And now the challenge that they are facing is to actually carry out the post-flood relief work, because people have lost their properties, belongings, houses, everything. So they, at the end of the day, cleanup work, especially in most of the places, is what we know. There are about 105 teams, rescue operation teams on the ground level, including the NDRF, SDRF,
Right.
Coast Guard for that matter, Navy for that matter, who are conducting the relief work as we speak.
All right, Disha, thanks for getting us those details. So, of course, across the board, it seems like the situation is slowly and steadily improving. But let's also go across to Navi Narayanan, who is a water expert, chairman of Asia Pacific Water Forum. Thank you very much, Mr. Narayan, for joining us on The Big Story. You know, the way we've been seeing all of this, this kind of intensive rainfall, the kind of flooding that we've been seeing, there's a lot that needs to be questioned as to how much of this is, you know, are we ourselves responsible for? How much of this, these disasters are actually man-made or at least been exaggerated because of that?
Well, first of all, I think we mustn't be surprised, because this has happened before, and it will happen again and again with climate change and so on. The number of days of rainfall is decreasing, but the intensity is increasing. So we shouldn't be surprised. So that's the first thing. If we are not going to be surprised, then we have to be prepared. So there are several things that need to be done in order to be prepared. You know, there are 3 steps. There is rescue, relief, and rehabilitation. All these steps will have to be anticipated, and we'll have to be prepared for that. Of course, the situation varies from locality to locality. But in general, we have to take a 3-tiered approach to this thing, and of which rehabilitation is going to be the most difficult. Because once the story is lost and forgotten, once the rescue and relief happens, rehabilitation is something that affects most people. And that is, which is probably the most difficult in terms of agriculture, damage to property, and livelihood. So I think one has to be... I think that the lesson is that don't be surprised. It's going to happen again and again.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Narayanan. Thank you for joining us with your perspective as far as these kind of disasters are concerned. Of course, there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of being prepared for such events. And on that note, it's time to wrap up this edition of The Big Story. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned tomorrow now.